And now I'd really like to let them speak for themselves. Congressman?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Lee, for those kind words of introduction. I must tell each and every one of you that I'm delighted and very pleased to be here. This is my very, very first Comic-Con. I thought about wearing a backpack and a trench coat because on March 7, 1965, when I was 25 years old, had all of my hair, a few pounds lighter, I was wearing a backpack and a trench coat. But to be here with these two young men, the three of us come from the South, we're Southern. To be here with Andrew and Nate, and to be part of this effort to tell the story of a struggle for justice, a struggle to create a beloved community, but to create a society where we can lay down the burden of race and move on. Lee told you in so many words that in this book, March, we tell the story of my growing up in rural Alabama, 50 miles from Montgomery, outside of a little place called Troy. It is true that my father was a sharecropper, a tenant farmer. But back in 1944, when I was 4 years old, and I do remember when I was 4, my father had said, how many of you remember when you was 4? Now what happened to the rest of us? Well, in 1944, when I was only 4 years old, my father had saved $300. And with the $300, he bought 110 acres of land. My family still owns this land today. Corn, peanuts, hogs, cows, and chickens. It was my responsibility to care for the chicken, and I fell in love with raising chickens like no one else ever raised chickens. I became very good at it. Do any of you know anything about raising chicken? Don't try to fool me now. If some of you know something about Kentucky Fried, another one, Churches, another one,
Popeyes,
Chick-fil-A,
El Pollo Loco,
California chicken. You know the name of chicken. But as a little boy, I became very good at it. You have to take the fresh eggs and mark them with a pencil, place them under the setting hen, and wait for 3 long weeks for the little chicks to hatch. And some of you may be saying, now John Lewis, why do you mark those fresh eggs with a pencil before you place them under the setting hen? Well, from time to time, another hen would get on that same nest, and there would be some more eggs. And you had to be able to tell the fresh eggs from the eggs that were already under the setting hen. Do you follow me? You don't follow me. Sometimes I would take these little chicks and give them to another hen. I'll put them in a box with a lantern. Get some more fresh eggs, mark them with a pencil, place them under the setting hen, encourage the setting hen to stay in the nest for another 3 weeks. I was never quite able to save $18.98 to order the most inexpensive hatcher incubator from the Central Roebuck store. Most of you in here are so young. You don't know anything about the Central Roebuck catalog, right? It's a big book, thick book, heavy book. Use it for many different things. Some people call it a wish book. I wish I had this, I wish I had that. They just keep on wishing. But as a little boy, I wanted to be a minister. I wanted to preach. So from time to time, with the help of my brothers and sisters and my cousins, we would get all of our chickens together in the chicken yard, like you gather here in this room. And my brothers and sisters and cousins would line the outside of the chicken yard. But they would have make up the audience, the congregation. And I would start speaking or preaching. And when I look back on it, some of these chickens would bow their heads. Some of these chickens would shake their heads. They never quite said amen. But I'm convinced that some of those children that I preached to or talked to in the 40s and the 50s tended to listen to me much better than some of my colleagues listen to me today in the Congress. was all about it. But Andrew tells this story in his ability to write and put words together. And Nate, with his unbelievable capacity to draw and to illustrate. And the chickens have names. Little Pullet. Little Pullet was like a little yellow chicken that I got to know. And Big Bear. That's another name. But these chickens taught me something. They taught me patience. They taught me not to give up, not to give in, not to become bitter, or not to become hostile, but to keep the faith. And after those eggs and after a number of days, for 3 weeks, they were hatched, and there would be some little chicks. When I was growing up, I saw those signs that said white men, white women, colored women. I didn't like those signs. I didn't like the system of segregation and racial discrimination. In 1955, at the age of 15, I heard of Rosa Parks. I heard of Martin Luther King Jr. I met Rosa Parks when I was 17. The next year, at the age of 18, I met Martin Luther King Jr. And I got involved in the civil rights movement. I remember in 1956, so inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, some of my brothers and sisters and cousins, we went down to the public library in the little town of Troy, Alabama, trying to check out some books, trying to get library cards. And we were told by the librarian that the library was for whites only and not for colors. I never went back to the library until July 5th, 1998. And they gave me a library. It says something about the distance we've come and the progress we've made in America.